I bought the brand new Y700 Gen 4 all the way from China just for game streaming. Why? Because I want to find out if a 8.8-inch flagship tablet could let me lay down on my sofa and play my PC games. Before I got the Y700 Gen 4, there's a couple of things that I'm concerned of. Number 1, is the LCD display good enough in 2025? Number 2, is the Y700 good for game streaming? Number 3, is the OS really that bad on this tablet? Number 4, is China ROM a pain in the ass to work with outside of China? Number 5, will the restricted Wi-Fi bandwidth be an issue for game streaming? When I first held the Y700, it actually felt smaller than I expected. At first, I was worried with the top and bottom bezel being too thick, but it's really not that bad. Perhaps it's due to the thinner side bezel, it makes the top and bottom bezel look thick visually. The minimal design looks premium and the build quality feels solid. It's rather slim, but it still felt dense in the hand. You might be able to hold it with one hand, but you definitely won't be able to operate it unless you're an alien. The back felt smooth but slippery, and it's a fingerprint magnet, especially on the Legion logo. The official magnetic case is available to be purchased separately, and the case is made out of thin plastic with holes for better cooling. You could fold it into a triangle stand and it can be detached when you don't need it. Personally, I don't use the case simply because I prefer it to be as light as possible. It uses a single 50 megapixel camera, but that doesn't matter to me because I don't use it. There's 2 storage options to choose from, and I've gone with 512GB version for the extra RAM. There's also a micro SD card slot here, which is really useful for storing movies and emulated games. It comes with 2 USB-C ports, 3.2 Gen 2 on the side, 2.0 on the bottom, and both of them support up to 68-watt charging. And I'll cover more on the benefits of having dual USB-C ports later in the video. The 16:10 aspect ratio is great. Most games and videos fit nicely with minimal black bars when you're in landscape mode. And if you use it in portrait mode, it felt more like a large phone instead of a full-size tablet. I think it's great for scrolling Instagram and TikTok, especially Xiaohongshu. As for the 160Hz refresh rate, which is the highest refresh rate among all phones and tablets in 2025, it makes the experience feel snappy. But the question is whether the LCD display is good enough in 2025. My answer is yes. The contrast, the blacks and the saturation actually looks surprisingly good to my eyes. The image looks pop while maintaining an accurate and neutral tone using the default vibrant mode. Sharpness looks great as well thanks to the 3K resolution. The screen brightness is rated at 600 nits, which is plenty enough for me as most of the time I use it indoor at around 20%. And the stereo speakers on the Y700 support Dolby Atmos, and they are loud and details in tone. There's a slide bass on it with a proper amount of soundstage and imaging. Most importantly, the placement of the speakers is off to one side so that you won't cover it while holding it in landscape mode or when using a controller. It also has dual X-axis linear motor for haptic feedback, which is useful when I'm using a controller with no rumble motor. What about the performance? The Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset is currently the best option when it comes to Android device. Although I don't play mobile games or run benchmark on it, but I do stream video games from my PC. This chipset is one of the few that support ultra low latency when using it with Apollo. I have been gaming with this setup for a week now and there's zero issues so far. The 7600 mAh battery lasts pretty long for my usage. However, I'm the kind of guy who often forgets to charge the device, so the dual USB-C port suits me a lot. I could still charge the device even when I'm using a controller. It also supports bypass charging, which powers the device without charging the battery. And there's a large vapor chamber underneath to help with cooling, so you won't need to worry about overheating your device when you're gaming. Able to sustain the temperature could be very helpful with stable performance. They also include a 68-watt charger with a cable in the box. Although it's fast, but definitely not super fast. Usually I leave it to charge for 30 minutes and I'm good to go. And there's a waifu charging animation built right in the software. Talking about software, There's a game overlay feature that allows you to switch mode easily alongside with some other shortcuts. And one of the shortcuts allows you to toggle on a floating FPS windows. You could manage your game settings through Game Assistant inside the setting app. You can also change the aspect ratio on each game from full screen to ultra wide and extreme view. Another great touch is that it allows you to move the whole game to the bottom of the screen, making it more comfortable to hold your device. Aside from that, you can also manually select an application to run in high refresh rate mode, leaving the rest in intelligent mode to save more battery when not gaming. As for the OS itself, I would say it's simple but messy. Since the Y700 Gen 4 is only available in China ROM, there's a few things that you need to tweak before you can start using. Stuff like side-loading Play Store, changing the default keyboard and browser. It also comes with plenty of bloatware that I couldn't use outside of China. Another messy thing is the control panel. By default, it puts almost all the shortcuts in the control panel, so I spent some time rearranging it. One of the things that bothers me the most is the global search bar. It displays only Chinese popular searches, and whenever you search for an app, it recommends all the other apps available to download. But luckily, there's a workaround by changing the desktop style to drawer style in the home setting. Another thing about being an Android tablet, not all the apps have proper scaling in landscape mode. For example, Instagram couldn't display the full image, and apps like Taobao is totally off when it comes to scaling. The only workaround as of now is to use Lenovo One Vision split screen features. The Smart Split feature can force an app to open in landscape mode even if the app doesn't support it natively. And combined with the split screen feature, you'll be able to adjust it to a proper scaling. Another thing that is worth mentioning is that you could simply do a 3-finger double tap to open up split screen mode. You can also switch to another app by doing the same gesture as well. I find it easier to do it this way compared to dragging an app from the taskbar like other tablets. Another way to scale your app in landscape mode is to use the floating windows. However, it is rather small, so you might as well just turn your tablet to portrait mode. On the lock screen, the pin code does come up based on where you swipe on the screen. While it has face unlock, but it doesn't work well, especially in low light as it only uses the front camera to scan. So perhaps a fingerprint scanner on the power button would be better in future model. There's also a few cool features like key mapping, desktop mode, and external display support with customizable resolution and frame rate using the USB-C port on the side. And the Y700 could work as a trackpad as well when connected to an external display.
Moment of resonance. I think you're with me.
As for the Wi-Fi restriction issue in China, you could only get Wi-Fi 6 compared to Wi-Fi 7 on last gen global version, the Legion Tab. Indeed, it couldn't detect my Wi-Fi 7 at 6 GHz and 5 GHz at 240 MHz, so I had to lower it to 160 MHz in order to connect. It's a little bit sad, but my game streaming still runs smoothly nonetheless. Also, I really hope there's a SIM card slot option in the future, as the portable size is meant to be carried around.